What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. We're looking at the Sunday slate. We have another full 11 game slate starting at 1 o'clock today, so let's get right into it. Not too much time to waste. So before we get started, appreciate if you hit a like on the video and subscribe if you're not already. Yesterday you guys got over 240 likes. Appreciate that a lot. If you can get 200 again, that would be great. And looking to get back on track today. Yesterday, just a lot of things didn't go as planned, like the Red Sox stack kind of disappointed, and some of the other stacks that I was on didn't do much. But it's gonna happen in baseball. It's a very volatile sport. All you gotta do is just win more than you lose, and you'll be profitable at the end. So, looking at the pitchers for today, well, first I'll just go ahead and just scan through the 11 games. The Phillies are facing Jose Urena, the guy that likes to throw out people. They have 5.3 run total. They look fine. Bryce Harper's got off to kind of a slow start. I think he looks good, but his price tag is expensive, so we're not getting a discount after he's not looked great the first two games. Not really interested in playing anybody against Patrick Corbin. I believe James Paxton is on the other hand for the Yankees. And then we have Blake Snell. I think the Blue Jays are going with an opener situation there. Snell looks fine. At 10-7, he's a really good pitcher. The Blue Jays are just loaded with a lot of righty bats, though, so it's not like the easiest matchup for him. Carlos Carrasco, I like him quite a bit. Carlos Cookie Carrasco facing off against this terrible Royals team. They strike out a bunch, and I think he's at a good price point at 8,600 as like a guy they compare with Trevor Bauer. Bauer looks excellent against the Detroit Tigers. They striked out a lot. You can look at plate IQ if you want. Look at how often they strike out and how much strikeout upside Trevor Bauer has. A 27.8% K rate. Last year, the strikeouts are just through the roof. 32% for Nico Goodrum, 23 for Scope, 25 for Stewart, 23 for Crone, 28 for Jones, 27 for Maben. Average of 25%. Trevor Bauer looked great today. And then the Red Sox stack, once again, it's going to be pretty much a theme this year. Just pick on Baltimore pitching. They're facing off against Wade LeBlanc, the former Mariner. The Red Sox disappointed yesterday, but it's going to go right back to them today against another terrible lefty, especially now that Kevin Pillar should be in the lineup. Yesterday, the lineup, they didn't have Bogarts in there, so it kind of looked a little bit worse, but I think he should be back in. Then they're going to have Pillar back in there. So, and I think they're going to be a lot better against left-handed pitching with JD Martinez just raking against lefties. And the Astros look fine. I like the Twins a ton today against Ronaldo Lopez. If we look at Ronaldo Lopez, I think the Twins can hit some bombs today. Lopez last year, a 5.24 xFIP, that's not going to get the job done. Just a 20% K rate, that's not going to get the job done either. He's been bad to both sides of the plate, 200 plus ISO given up to lefties and righties. And the Twins don't strike out that much. You can see a lot of green in there. And they have a ton of power, obviously, and Lopez likes to throw his fastball like 60% of the time, and all these hitters crush the fastball. Josh Donaldson, 361 ISO. Mitch Garver, 336 ISO. Kepler, 256. To lefty, he throws his changeup a little bit as well, and Kepler is decent at that, 148 ISO. He also throws a slider, especially to righties, and you got Kepler crushing that pitch. Josh Donaldson crushing that. Nelson Cruz is decent, but the sliders are different when they're coming from Ronaldo Lopez and coming from a guy like Shane Bieber. So I like the Twins a ton. And that is kind of it. I don't know. I think if it's going to be a win game in Wrigley, you can stack some of the Cubs bats against Peralta, but Peralta is also a decent pitcher. Just gets blown up at times. And then I'm not super interested in anybody in the Cardinals game, except you could look at some hitters against Keller if you want. And that's pretty much it. For the breakdown, the two teams that I'm really high on today are the Red Sox and the Twins. I'll have a bunch of them. Then mix in some Astros against a lefty that gives up a lot of power. So pitching-wise, not Patrick Corbin, going with Trevor Bauer as an SP1, and then going with Carlos Carrasco at 8,600. It leaves you with almost 4,000 left for your hitters. You got two guys with a ton of strikeout upside in great strikeout matchups and in great spots in general, and against very poor offenses. Starting with some of the hitters that I like. Second base, you have Michael Chavis at 2,900. Probably play him at second base. I think there's a little bit more options at first base. But second base, I'm looking at like Altuve if you want to play him. You have a decently priced Hira at 4,400. You have kind of a cheap Colton Wong at 3,700 batting leadoff. And then you have like Galvez if you want to play him. But I think you have a guy under 3,000 in Chavez who's in a good spot. You could also play Jose Peraza if you want, just because he's also going to be in the lineup probably. And both hitters I think are fine. I think I'll go with Chavez just because he has some home run upside. At third base, lots of good options at third base. It's always going to be a stacked position the whole year. I'm not really looking at Rafael Devers. It's a lefty-lefty matchup. I would kind of go with Bregman, who's cheaper. I like Jose Ramirez against a lefty as well. And then you have Suarez, 4,500. Josh Donaldson, I like him quite a bit today at just 4,200. And you have Michael Moustakas. So those are the ones that I'm really looking at the top. For value, there's not one that I'm really on. Maybe Matt Carpenter, but I feel like it's going to be a spot where I'm probably going to pay up at third base, and I like Josh Donaldson a lot at 4,200. If you look at the splits from Josh Donaldson, he was pretty much reverse splits last year, which means he was hitting better against right-handed pitching than left-handed pitching. Last year he had 37 bombs, and 30, I believe, of which came against righties. So 271 average against righties with 30 home runs, so that gave him a 271 ISO. The strikeouts were like 4% lower as well. The hard hit percentage very high at 46%. Josh Donaldson looks very good today. He's also very cheap. And it's supposed to be like 91 in Chicago. The ball could carry very well today. In the outfield, I think JD Martinez is probably going to be another like guy that everybody goes to, and it's hard not to. Like looking at his numbers against left-handed pitching, they're just ridiculous. He did not disappoint in the first game against the lefty, and I think he won't disappoint today. He also has good numbers against Wade LeBlanc for his career. If you are into BVP like I am, a little bit at least, and he's all gotten off to a good year so far. But last year, batted 404 against lefties with 19 home runs and just 141 at bats. Those numbers are just insane. And JD Martinez looks very good today. And then I like Max Kepler. He's only 4,100. That's very, very cheap. The Twins are loaded. Kepler is another guy that gives you so much power. He bats leadoff, batted 36 bombs last year. And he's very, very good against right-handed pitching. If you look at Kepler's numbers, oops, not Gabe Kapler, Max Kepler, I'm pretty sure he had most home runs against righties, obviously as you would expect, but he had go back to 2019, a 236 average against righties. The average was a lot lower than it is against lefties. That's pretty surprising, but the power was definitely there with a 281 ISO. Look back at 2018. You started breaking out recently, but 2018 also power was there against righties with the 187 ISO. Career-wise, he's been a lot better against righties. So just the last couple years, it's been a little bit reverse splits, but it's not too much of a sample size to judge. Only a couple years, a young player, but righties is where he has all of his power. 228 ISO career-wise, just a 16.5% K rate. Very cheap at 4,100. You can sign me up for some Max Kepler for sure. And that's pretty much it. I like these six a lot. He gets you upside. You still have a decent amount left. You can always go cheap at catcher. And I'll go ahead and touch on my Fanduel plays now. Okay, on Fanduel, they have Blake Snell as 10-2, Trevor Bauer 97, Zach Greinke 96. I still like Trevor Bauer. Just gives you the most strikeout upside, I would say. Carlos Carrasco is priced up to 91. I feel a little bit better by going with Trevor Bauer. And then the Twins are very nicely priced on FanDuel for sure, like third base. You have Bregman at the top, but then you have like Josh Donaldson all the way down to 3,100. I mean, sign me up for some Josh Donaldson at that price tag. Very cheap in a great matchup. You could go with like Michael Chavis if you want. He's also pretty cheap at his price point. At I think second base is only 2,600. In the outfield, go back to JD Martinez. I think you could definitely just stack the Red Sox and the Twins if you want on FanDuel. But JD Martinez, 4,000. A little expensive, but well worth it. Shortstop, you have like Lindor. 3,800 is fine. It's a good spot. Well, you have some other good options with Xander Bogaerts at 3,600. You have Carlos Carrasco. I mean, Carlos Correa at 3,200. Jorge Polanco at 3,200, so they look very, very appealing. But I like these two, and then if I throw in Kepler again, there's only 3,000 on FanDuel. That's like a bargain. See, we still have 3,000 left, so FanDuel's a little bit easier since you're only paying for one pitcher to pay for some more bats. So I like those, and then I'll probably throw in like a cheap Kevin Pillar if we want, like 2,600 for Pillar. Should bat like 5th or 6th in the lineup. And Pillar is another guy that has pretty good numbers against lefties, so probably not going to play a ton against righties with Verdugo in there, but should get the platoon advantage, obviously, in this one. And last year he batted very nicely against lefties with a 278 average, 9 home runs, and 174 at bats. He had a 241 ISO, just an 8% K rate, which is very, very nice. Career-wise, it's been a lot better against lefties, 281 average, almost 30 points higher. I think I passed it. Against lefties, he had let's back to the original 281 average right here. He had a 455 career slugging and a 173 ISO. So decent power, hits for high average, strikeouts are lower as well. He's cheap, and the matchup is great. So Kevin Pillar, 2,600. And that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. You can hit the like if you enjoyed, and good luck today.